Hey guys, in today's video, I'm going to be covering how I aim train and how you can practice or warm up your aim for Deadlock. And all you have to do is go into the game and I'll show you what I do. So go ahead, walk forward, talk to this lady here, go into the sandbox mode. And once you're here, it's super simple. You can play Haze as your hero, so if you need to swap your hero, you can pick Haze here. The reason I pick Haze for warming up is because her bullet velocity is very fast, and she's a tracking hero, and that's what I like to practice. But if you want to practice more of your single shots, like with like Holiday or something, you can switch over to her and practice your aim in the exact same way, just with Holiday, if you want to practice like her single shotgun.
But I know I'll make him proud.
But what you're going to want to do is hit tab, and over here where you see the character, you're going to click that. And I personally like practicing on Mina because her bullets aren't distracting when she's shooting at me, and her hitbox is really tiny, which makes it really good for practicing or warming up your aim because you have to be more precise. But you can try any other hero if your aim isn't that good. You can, practice against Wraith and Furnace, targets with bigger hitboxes, until you feel comfortable playing against Mina. Go ahead and click on her, and then click hero to spawn as enemy. Hit make mimic, and that means she'll follow your every move even when you buy stuff. And I recommend using my build here because at the very bottom, if you scroll down, I have a little section here called aim training movement items, and when you add these into your build, the target Mina will actually be quicker, and so will you. So the aim requirement will actually be higher because the character models will be all moving very fast. Okay, because you're improving the movement speed of the characters. But let's say again you're not very confident in your aim, or let's say you haven't aim trained before, or you just feel really rusty. Well, go ahead and you can start by just buying like Fortitude and Fleet Foot and Burst Fire, right? And the characters won't be moving that fast, but you at least need to buy Fleet Foot so that the movement penalty for shooting is gone. But I like adding more movement items on top of that just to, make the character models move a little bit faster to warm up your aim very well. So once you've done that, you can see that even Mina has all of these items I have, and you can start practicing your aim. And then once you have all the items, you can go ahead and click on no death so that when you shoot Mina or she shoots you, you don't die. No reload and extra slots, because eventually you're going to want to, add more movement items. And then once you've done that, now you can actually begin warming up. And this is where there are a number of different ways you can practice your aim. There's smooth tracking, where the target is moving in kind of the same direction, and all you have to do is smoothly track the target. Whereas if you are strafing left and right, this would be more like reactive tracking, where you have to react to the target changing directions. And then you can do things like, if you have Lash, you can have no cooldown on, and I'll show that later, where you can have him jump around you and practice your vertical tracking. But to warm up, I always start with smooth tracking, which is basically tracking Mina as she moves left and right. So, warming up like that is really nice. And then you can tap Fleet Foot and make her move a little bit quicker and just practice tracking her. Now, my aim is a little rusty right now because I haven't warmed up, but this would be smooth tracking, and that's the very first thing I warm up to do, just when I'm fully trying to warm up my aim. I don't want to try, tracking something too difficult where it's kind of hard when I haven't, if I'm just getting on the game to warm up. If I'm trying to track something moving left and right, it's kind of hard, so warm up by smooth tracking first, and just, strafe in one direction and track Mina's head. And then as you've done that, then you can start practicing your reactive tracking, where you spam AD and you try to track her moving left and right. And then once you feel pretty confident with that, then you can move on to adding more movement items. And that is where you want to scroll down and buy these. So once you buy all of these items here and healing tempo, you'll notice now that the character models move a lot faster. And you don't have to buy all of them all at the same time. You can just decide, to buy a few of them and slowly ramp up to buying all of the movement items. But you can see here that once you've bought everything, the character models actually move quite fast. And the aim requirement kind of goes up a lot. And if you want to make it even funnier, you can put on no cooldown. That way all of your items that give movement keep proccing continuously. so that the character is moving at the highest possible speed it can because all the cooldowns are resetting. Although I do find it quite annoying because you'll keep hearing the headhunter proc sound, which kind of annoys me, so I tend to turn on no cooldown. But you can have no cooldown on and just turn off the audio, and that'll work just as well. But yeah, that is how I would warm up your aim, just smooth tracking and reactive tracking. And like I said, you could do the same thing with Holiday, where you pick her and you could buy all the items. I don't have the kind of build set up where I can buy all the movement items quickly, but you can add the movement options in your own build at the bottom like I did, and then you could quickly buy them. And then the idea is pretty much the same. You just kind of practice shooting with the single shotgun, because the aiming style is definitely going to be different. It requires a different set of skills, but I do recommend practicing with both Holiday and Haze to properly practice your aim and to be a well-rounded player. And another thing you want to keep in mind is you can also practice your close range tracking or your long range tracking, because the mechanics of aiming when a target is close up and far away is different. So for example, if I'm really close to Mina, her relative size is bigger, but she'll move quicker. So you can see here, like if you're tracking her, she's quicker on my screen, but she's a bigger target. And I'm going to be using some of my arm and my wrist and maybe a tiny bit of my fingertips to aim, but mainly it's going to be kind of my arm and my wrist. Whereas if the target is far away, like back here, the target is a lot smaller but doesn't move around as much. So you can see she's a lot tinier, but she's not like moving completely around my character, meaning that it's going to be a different type of aim. And when I'm tracking something this far away, I'm going to be using my wrist and my fingertips mainly to aim. So the mechanics, like I said, are going to be different, and it's good to track something close up and far away. So with the same idea, you can practice smooth tracking, the target moving in general, like in the same direction. Sorry, I forgot I didn't have no reload on. In the same direction, and then you can practice reactive tracking. And then you can also practice with the target close up. You can practice smooth tracking with the target right in front of you. You can see that she moves a lot more on my screen, and I'm using a lot more of my arm. And then you can practice reactive tracking, which is a lot more on my wrist. And that is an important thing to keep in mind whenever you're practicing your aiming, is tracking something close up and far away, or even a medium distance. Not quite as far away as I had before, but not as close up. And from here, it's kind of like an amalgamation of using all different aiming styles, like my wrist, my fingertips, and my arm a little bit when the target's like a medium distance away. But keep that in mind and make sure to be practicing at every distance. And you can do the same thing with Holiday as well. And then, like I mentioned earlier, you can do the same thing with Lash. And Lash is how I kind of practice my vertical tracking. So I'm going to put Mina over here where she's not distracting in the corner, hit clear follow to get her to stop following me. And then after I've selected Lash, make him as an enemy, and then make Mimic, and then buy the same items I did earlier, just basically buy all the movement, and we're pretty much set. And then from here, you want to put on no cooldown so that Lash can spam his 2, and you just want to have him, you know, constantly using his 2 on you, and then you can kind of practice your vertical tracking. Again, I haven't warmed up, so don't make fun of me too much, but yeah, that is kind of how I practice, you know, a little bit of vertical tracking, because this game does have some pretty wacky movement. You know, if there's a Lash or a Pocket or a Viscous, you get the idea, or a Holiday. When they're spamming their movement abilities, it can be quite difficult to actually practice. Now, it's kind of unfortunate Lash is kind of gone behind the truck, but yeah, you can practice just tracking Lash over and over, and just, you know, warm up your vertical tracking a little bit. And that way you kind of have a very well-rounded set of aim training practices or warm-ups that you can do. And this is kind of how I have been practicing my aim. And let me know if this video helped you, but this was going to be my very short guide on how to warm up or practice your aim in game. And you can decide to warm up for 5 minutes, or if you really want to do it for a while, just, you know, if you're watching a video on the side and you want to be practicing your aim, well, you can do this for like half an hour to an hour if you really feel like it, practicing every different style of aim I showed with different movement items and character models, and practicing tracking the head until you feel really comfortable in your aim. And this will drastically improve your aim if you do it enough. And even if you don't practice all the time, even warming up with this for 5 minutes every day before you start playing will help you a lot. And I notice that it does help me a lot as well. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'm out.